watching him and following his steps until the end of the world. Ouyang Haoshuan thought, I remember this person's name. The only name that is imprinted in my soul. Shiyu. Also, Feng family, Feng Yunjing, my enmities, and the culprit that murdered my parents and destroyed my family is still alive. How can I die? How can I just give up like this? I want revenge. I will make the Feng family pay with their blood. I will let everyone in the Feng family taste the heartbreaking pain. How can I die? Ouyang Haoshuan opened his eyes abruptly. His red eyes burst into cold ray, and his hot body shivered with convulsions. Hushi let out a sigh of relief. She frowned and retracted her hand. The temperature in her palm was already swollen due to the terrifying high temperature. If she didn't use I's spiritual power to wrap her skin before grabbing Ouyang Haoshuan's hand, her hands would have been burned to ashes now. Fortunately, Ouyang Haoshuan's situation finally stabilized. The originally weak and turbulent breath of life began to stabilize, and the burning flame slowly extinguished and merged into his flesh and blood. As the flame was completely extinguished, the temperature on the surface of Ouyang Haoshuan that could burn the stones to ashes also subsided. Ouyang Haoshuan opened his eyes in a daze, and Hushi reflected in his eyes. He said dumbly, Shiyu, I am still alive? Yes, you are still alive. Can I still avenge on the Feng family? Yes, you can avenge yourself. My parents' corpses, I've already collected them. When you wake up, we will find a place to bury and let them settle down. The light in Ouyang Haoshuan's eyes fluctuated, and the expression seemed to be crying, but it also seemed to be smiling. For a long time, he whispered, Shiyu, thank you in the future. My Ouyang Haoshuan's is yours. When Ouyang Haoshuan said this, his expression was calm, but his eyes seemed to be swearing like a curse. Hushi was startled. She actually couldn't agree or disagree to him. She just felt that Ouyang Haoshuan was not seeking her opinion, but he was stating a fact that he had decided. Ouyang Haoshuan suddenly stretched out his hand with difficulty, and he slowly forced a drop of golden red blood from his palm. Without waiting for the Hushi reaction, the golden red blood drew a shallow arc in the air and merged into the Hushi's body. Immediately afterward, Ouyang Haoshuan's low, hoarse voice sounded slowly. I, Ouyang Haoshuan, would like to choose Shiyu as my master. I will serve you until the end of my life, and I will never betray you. If I violate this vow, I'm willing to suffer God's retribution, and my soul will never be able to reincarnate. Hushi was shocked. She didn't even understand Ouyang Haoshuan's words, and she felt that an invisible and powerful force enveloped the two of them. In the palm of her hand, there was another totem, then it disappeared. The rules had bound them together, and the blood pact was formed. Since then, Ouyang Haoshuan would be the most loyal subordinate of Hushi. This subordinate was different from slaves, but similar to the relationship between Nan Gongyu, Qinglong, and Wu Xing. The blood pact would not interfere with Ouyang Haoshuan's behavior, but once he had the intention to betray Hushi, the retribution would fall on him. Even if it was a divine stage powerhouse, he wouldn't be able to survive such retribution. There was only one feeling in Hushi's mind at this time, dumbfounded. She didn't even know what was in Ouyang Haoshuan's head. Before recuperating his injuries, he actually signed a blood pact with her. Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Moreover, did he get my approval to sign the blood pact with me? Hushi calmed down again after being flustered for a while. Regardless of the process, at least in terms of results, it was in her best interest to sign a blood pact with Ouyang Haoshuan. Initially, she did not want to regard Ouyang Haoshuan as a subordinate. She just wanted to keep the promise to General Ouyang to save him, then she would take over the 100,000 Jinwei army. But since Ouyang Haoshuan was willing to stay with her and make her his master, she of course would take her as the main. She certainly couldn't refuse him pretentiously. Hushi looked at Ouyang Haoshuan and said solemnly, Do you really think clearly? Ouyang Haoshuan gave a weak smile. What do you say? Shiyu, I owe you too much. Except this method, I can't think of anything to repay you. Hushi looked at his dark, deep eyes. After a long time, She finally nodded and said, "Okay, I understand." As soon as he had finished speaking, Hashi waved her hand, and the scene in front of them instantly changed. It was no longer the hot desert, but it was a courtyard with picturesque scenery and full of spirits. Although this courtyard was a little ugly. After seeing the shock on Ouyang Haoshuan's face, Hashi smiled and said, "I was originally planning to send you here after you wake up, but since you have signed a blood pact with me now, there is nothing to hide. Here is Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory," Hashi said slowly, "and I am the new owner of Sealed Dragon Domain." This time, Hashi finally saw the shock in Ouyang Haoshuan's face. She said with a smile, "There are many places suitable for cultivation in the Sealed Dragon Domain, and there are a lot of rare materials that can help cultivation. You can choose whatever you want. I have to go to Yinjing City first. You stay and rest well." Ouyang Haoshuan had just merged with Fire Element Spirit Pearl, so he was very weak. It was the safest to stay in the Sealed Dragon Domain. After giving the instructions to Ouyang Haoshuan, she let a Qi refining stage servant, Little C, take care of him. Hashi hurriedly left Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory. Watching Hashi's figure disappear in the green scenery, Ouyang Haoshuan slowly lowered his eyebrows, covering the hot and deep darkness in his eyes. In fact, when he was like a scorched black body that couldn't move, his soul was not unconscious. So, he heard it all. Not only did he hear she use Master's evaluation of 5-element Spirit Pearl, he also heard that Shiyu did not hesitate to give up the Fire Element Spirit Pearl that the Feng family crazily wanted to snatch to save his life. He even heard Shiyu's Master's evaluation of him one day. He would betray Shiyu. So he asked Shiyu to stay away from him. But how could it be? Ouyang Haoshuan's mouth twitched as a faint smile appeared. There were only two reasons for him to stay alive now: vengeance and Shiyu. If he left Shiyu, what was the point for him to stay alive in this world? Therefore, admitting Shiyu as his master was the best ending. In this way, he could always follow Shiyu, watch her, follow her, and never have to separate. When Hashi finished handling Ouyang Haoshuan's matter, it was almost night. She hurried back to Shengda Hall. Before she entered the door, she heard Shan Qingchua's crisp but angry voice. "Hey, you who hide your face behind the mask, how can you stop me from finding Brother Shiyu? Do you know who I am? Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free." Afterward, Gu Liufeng's gentle and clear voice sounded, "Miss Shun has misunderstood me. I'm not stopping you from seeing Shiyu. It's just that Shiyu has just returned from the big hunting match. He is physically and mentally tired, and he needs a good rest. You really shouldn't disturb him." I just want to peek at Brother Shiyu secretly without disturbing him. Obviously, you don't like me. I asked you to take off the mask to speak with me, but you didn't want to. Are you looking down on me?" As soon as Hashi walked into Shengda Hall, he saw Shan Qingchua aggressively looking at Gu Lufeng, but Gu Lufeng only looked helpless in his eyes. Upon seeing her coming in, Gu Liufeng's and Shan Qingchua's eyes were beaming. They walked toward her with joy. Gu Lufeng sized her up for a while before saying softly, "You finally returned safely." Shan Qingchua, who was originally shy, wanted to greet Hashi, but when she heard Gu Liufeng's words, she couldn't help but glare at him. "What do you mean? Brother Shiyu has 9 lives. How can he have any danger?" Gu Lufeng touched his nose with a helpless face. He didn't dare to argue with this little girl. Shen Seon stepped forward and knocked on Shan Qingchua's head. He said helplessly, "Young Master Gu didn't argue with you, but you still step on him more. Young Master Gu, young Master Shi, sorry for the embarrassing incident." Hashi smiled slightly. She took out a storage ring from her arm and said without hiding, "Elder Shen, I want to thank for your Qingxia sect's help in the big hunting match. This is my little present. Elder Shen, please kindly accept it." Shin Seon raised his eyebrows in surprise. He took the storage ring in his hand, but her expression was a bit obscure. Qingxia sect was not short of valuable magic weapons. He escorted this boy not only because she was Shan Qingchua's life-saving person, but she was also talented, and his demeanor was impressive. Obviously, he was just at the foundation establishment stage, but she wasn't humble or arrogant when facing such a huge sect like Qingxia sect. She didn't try to win over their favor. But now, what did Hushi mean by sending this kind of present? Trying to win over Qingqing sect? To flatter Shinsen? If so, Shunsen would be disappointed. Thinking of this, Shunsan used his divine sense to examine the items in the storage ring. However, after only a glance, Shunsen's face suddenly changed. He exclaimed, These are all medicinal pills?" As he said, he took out a medicinal pill and put it on his nose to sniff. It was a third-grade spirit healing pill, and it was the upper grade of third-grade spirit healing pill. After sniffing the first one, he took out the second one, the third one, the fourth one. Hundreds and thousands of medical pills in different big jars. Yes, big jars. Inside the storage ring were all upper-grade pills. Shinsen's expression was stiff, and he was astounded looking at Hushi. Hushi nodded her head with a normal expression. Instead, she said with a hint of apology, "The time is short, so I can't produce the best-grade medicinal pill. Therefore, I can only give Eldershin 1,000 upper-grade medicinal pills." In fact, she was busy saving Ouyang Haoshuan last night. How could she have time to make medicinal pills? Fortunately, Little Egg was bored this month, so he made a lot of medicinal pills in the void. So she currently had a lot of medicinal pills in stock. It was just that there were a few best-grade pills, and Shengda Hall's medicinal pills were almost sold out. After all, she had left for about a month or more. Hushi paused and said, "Because most of the disciples of Qingxia sect have high cultivation, so the medicinal pills that I prepare for you are third grade. Of course, there is still a small amount of second grade. I hope that it will be helpful in everyone's training. Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free." The Qingxia sect's disciples, who were confused seeing Shen Yishun's abnormal face, they were delighted as they heard Hushi's words. They rushed over and took the storage ring from Shunsen's hand and looked inside. Immediately, exclamations sounded one after another. "Oh my God! There are so many medicinal pills! I have entered the medicinal pill store of Qingxia sect. All the medical pills in it are not more than this, right? And these are all third-grade medicinal pills, you see? You see. This bone muscle enhancement pill. I heard from external disciples said that this bone muscle enhancement pill can improve meridians and physical fitness. There is also the flame spirit pill. I heard that this pill can take twice the result with half the effort for cultivating fire attribute techniques, and it can also prevent the cultivator from being crazy in cultivating. My God, these pills are all extremely precious. He actually gives so much to us. Young Master Shi, do you really give us all this?" Pairs of crystal bright eyes stared straight at her. Even Hushi was stunned by their gaze. She couldn't understand. Qingxia sect is one of the 4 major sects of the Miluo continent, right? Why are they like a hungry dog who sees a bone? Their eyes are widened as they see this 1,000 medicinal pills. They even almost pounce on me. Shin-san coughed a little, covering up his previous gaffe. He said, "Shiyu, are you really giving us Qingxia sect these medicinal pills?" "Of course." Hushi raised an eyebrow. "Eldershin, pardon me for speaking frankly. I thought these pills are just a small amount for Qingxia sect. Is Qingxia sect lacking medicinal pills?" Shin-san immediately sighed a bit. He said helplessly, "There is something young master she didn't know. Although we Qingxia sect is one of the major sects, our medicinal pills are always in shortage. First and second grade pills are still enough. The pill refiners in our sect can help making the pills, but for the third grade, we need to spend a lot of money to buy it. For the fourth grade, we tried every method, but we couldn't buy even one bottle. Why is that so?" Hushi was really surprised. Qingxia sect was one of the 4 major sects of the Miluo continent. On the comprehensive strength, it was the strongest among the 4 major sections. However, they actually couldn't find the purchase source for the 3rd and 4th grade medicinal pills. It's because of the suppression of the shameless people of the Feng family. Before Shan-san spoke, Shin Qingchua had clenched his fist while saying indignantly, "Feng family? Xin Qingchua nodded, and she said angrily, Brother Shiyu, you also know that Fairy He Xinlian is the 6th grade doctor of the Doctors Association. But in fact, He Xinlian's level is even worse than the 3rd grade doctor. However, do you know why the Doctors Association opens a backdoor for He Xinlian? Hushi frowned. Feng family has a backdoor in the Doctors Association? It's more than that. A gold core stage senior disciple of Shun Qingchua gritted his teeth. A large part of the Doctors Association's good distribution channels for medical pills and the allocation of membership are in the hands of Feng family. Although the Feng family will not have a fallout with our Qingxia sect on the surface, they secretly did a lot of dirty moves. The medicinal pills we got were always delayed, or the price was several % higher than the other places. Famous doctors and pill refiners are all affiliated with the Doctors Association. They dare not take the risk of being delisted by the Doctors Association to help our Qingxia sect. Therefore, the cultivation of Qingxia sect's disciples is basically without the help of medicinal pills. Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Xin Qingchua focused on her head, and her entire small face was wrinkled together. This despicable Feng family. They are doing this to stop our Qingxia sect from getting stronger. The elder of the Feng family's overall strength is weaker than our Qingxia sect, so they use these dirty tricks to decrease our strength. This is too shameless. Hushi wondered, can't Qingxia sect buy medicinal pills from other stores? It is just 1,000 medicinal pills. Even Shangda Hall like ours can stock up the pills. How can Qingxia sect, such a major sect, can't find a source of supply? Shiyu, didn't you know about that? Gu Lufeng noticed Hushi's thought first. He couldn't help laughing. You think how many pharmacies that aren't buying medicinal pills from the Doctors Association? If the Doctors Association knows that these pharmacies have sold medicinal pills to Qingxia sect in private, will they be able to buy from the Doctors Association in the future again? In the end, aren't those stores can only choose to close down? As Gu Lufeng spoke, there was a fire in his eyes. He slowly said, Shiyu, among the entire Miluo continent, only you can produce various grades of medicinal pills without fear of the Doctors Association's monopoly threat, and you can ensure the quality and quantity. Hushi's eyes widened slightly, then she went deep into her thought. I didn't expect there are so many connections between the Doctors Association and Feng family. So if I want to retaliate against Feng family, can I start with the Doctors Association? For example, to break their monopoly on the pharmaceutical market? As Hushi was lost in her thought, there was suddenly Shan Sen's voice in her ears. Hushi looked up and met Shun Sen's eyes, but Hushi was stunned. At this moment, Shun Sen didn't regard her as a junior that needed to be looked at her, no longer regarded her as a junior, but he was looking at her as someone of equal status. His expression was solemn, and there was even a trace of excitement and prayer. Shiyu, I want to discuss something with you. Shin Seon stared nervously at Hushi and said in a deep voice, I want to represent Qingxia sect to buy medicinal pills from Shangda Hall at a market price every year, or even 10% higher than the market price. Wait, Hushi suddenly interrupted Shan Sen's words. I can provide Qingxia sect with 8,000 to 10,000 third-grade medicinal pills each year. The quality is guaranteed to be above the upper grade, and the price only needs 50% of the market price. But beyond that, I have a condition. 10,000T medicinal pills dash 50% off. Young Master Shi, you joke with us, right? In the room, incredulous exclamations came one after another, and the people of Qingxia sect was staring straight at Hushi with their eyes and ears opened. It seemed that if what Hushi said was a joke, they would faint together. Even the calm and steady Shan Sun couldn't help gulping his saliva. After a while, he suppressed the excitement and trembling in his voice and asked, Young Master Shi, please do tell the condition. Hushi smiled slightly, then her eyes looked dim. She said coldly, Qingxia sect has enough manpower. It also has enough prestige and power in various countries in Miluo continent, and I have enough medicinal pills in my hand that will not be constrained by the Doctors Association. So, I hope Qingxia sect can act as an agent of Shengda Hall. The products are all the medicinal pills and spirit plants sold by Shengda Hall. Qingxia sect can get 20% of the profit earned. What does Elder Shen think about it? Shen San was stunned. Then he immediately opened his eyes. Shiyu, do you want to? Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. I want to pressure the Doctors Association's market across the mainland and break their monopoly. Hushi smiled coldly, and her voice was full of cold and evil. Feng family can be so rampant in Miluo continent. The monopoly of the pharmaceutical market must be very important for them, right? Since this is the case, I will destroy them based on this. By the time, I want to see how arrogant can they be. That's right. As long as the Feng family can no longer control the pharmaceutical market, they will definitely be like a tiger with its fangs removed, and they will never be able to be arrogant again. Xin Xingchua clapped her hands excitedly as she said loudly, Brother Shiyu, you are really amazing. Shin-san had rich experience and a calm and steady personality, but he was a bit worried. Shiyu, you do this. Not only you will offend the Feng family, but you also offend the entire Doctors Association. When they retaliate against you, I'm afraid you can no longer survive as a doctor in Miluo continent. If I'm not going to offend them, will the Feng family let me go? Hushi sneered. Her eyes were full of determination. My principle has always been that I won't offend people if people don't offend me. Since the Feng family came to trouble me for several times, should I still be a coward who doesn't dare to retaliate? Moreover, it's my business to help people. I don't need the Doctors Association's approval. Speaking of which, Hushi's eyes twitched, with a bit of provocation. Still, Qingxia sect is afraid of Feng family and Doctors Association? Shin-san was first stunned, then he immediately laughed out loud. Good. Since Shiyu is not afraid of them, then I have nothing to fear. But for cooperation, I still have to tell the sect's elders before making a decision. But this matter was basically a matter of fact. After all, apart from medicinal pills, Qingxia sect was not afraid of the Doctors Association. And this cooperation was obviously beneficial to Qingxia sect without harm. Thinking of this, Shun Sen's eyes obviously looked delighted. There was more admiration in his gaze toward Hushi, like he was looking at a rare treasure. He really didn't expect that he was just simply helping a junior this trip, but it actually solved the big problem that troubled Qingxia sect for hundreds of years. The specific cooperation details were naturally negotiated by Gu Lufeng and the Qingxia sect. These were not Hushi's expertise. Gu Liufeng's face also showed a bit of excitement when he thought of fighting against a big organization like the Doctors Association. In just 10 years, he was able to grow Shengda Hall and other businesses as a nobody. Naturally, he had extraordinary talents in business. Now Shiyu wanted to make the business bigger. It was no longer like making a fuss, but it was to contend with such a powerful force as the Doctors Association. It naturally aroused unlimited fighting spirit in his heart. However, Gu Lufeng still had some doubts when he thought of the huge amount of medicinal pills produced by the Doctors Association every year. Shiyu, I want to fight against the Doctors Association and hammer the pharmaceutical market of the Feng family. I agree. However, can you constantly supply that insane amount of medicinal pills? The obscurity of Gu Liufeng's words made Shansen think that Hushi had a pill refiner team supplying medical pills. But in fact, Gu Lufeng himself was very clear. Shiyu had a pill refiner team. It was only her alone. A few thousand was still fine, but tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of medicinal pills would be terrible. Hushi thought about it. She hesitated and said, Gu Lufeng, you first investigate the number of upper-grade medicinal pills produced by the Doctors Association every year, and I will make adjustment accordingly. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. We may not be able to occupy the market for the inferior and intermediate grade medicinal pills, but for upper grade and best grade medicinal pills, I believe that we can definitely hurt some of the Doctors Association's profit. The reason Hushi was so confident was that Little Egg had upgraded. In fact, Hushi couldn't determine whether the brat was actually upgraded because its appearance had not changed. However, after eating a lot of Monster Essence pill, the speed of this brat refining pills had been improved several times than before. He didn't need to take too much effort to refine third-grade pills. Now it was Hushi couldn't keep up with his speed. Until now, she couldn't successfully refine the fourth-grade medicinal pills. After all, Little Egg could only learn her refining methods to make pills. Gu Lufeng was overjoyed when he heard that. Then he brought Shen San to the side and discussed about the cooperation. Shen Qingchua and Qingxia sect's disciples also excitedly gathered at the side, thinking about the beautiful future of Qingxia sect's disciples taking medicinal pills as sugar pills. Shen Sin also released a message inscribed Jade Slip, telling the elders and master of Qingxia sect that they would go back later. However, before waiting for Shan San to receive a reply from the door, they received a shocking news that shocked the entire Miluo continent. Luli sect was eliminated. When everyone first heard the news, their reaction was disbelief. Shin Qingchua said angrily to the disciple who came to report, "Brother Chiu, even if you hate the Feng family and Luli sect, don't curse them with such fabricated lie, okay? Even if it is a curse, it can't really take effect. Brother Chiu, you are a grown-up. Your behavior is really naive." The other Qingxia sect's disciples, including Shansen, all showed approval. Brother Chiu was a stutterer. Now that he was denied by the others, he couldn't help but be more anxious. Really, Lu? Luli sect is really eliminated. Now the news has spread all over the Miluo continent. I really did not lie. Shin Qingchua pouted. Brother Chiu, are you telling the truth? But how can such a thing happen? That's Luli sect, one of the 4 major gates of Miluo continent. Even if it is the military power of a country, it may not be able to compete with the power of Luli sect. You now say that it is destroyed. How do we believe in you? But it's true. I am. Brother Chiu was initially so anxious that he couldn't speak clearly, plus Shan Qingchua's resolute denial. There was even cold sweat coming out from his forehead. As Shan Qingchua was about to make fun of this fellow apprentice again, the sound of rapid footsteps suddenly came from the door. The person who came was Shi-san. He was all sweating all over his head, and his face also looked astounded. As soon as he saw Hushi, he rushed over and said with a trembling tone, "Young master, I have just gotten some news from Senior Mei. Luli sect was eliminated dozens of days ago." As soon as Shi-san said this, the room in Shengda Hall was silent. After a long while, Shun-san stood up. He said in disbelief, Is what you said true? Luli sect was really eliminated? Is it not a rumor or gossip?" At this time, Brother Chiu, who was blushing, finally burst out a sentence. "Master Senior, it is true. I have just seen it on the black market. Announcement. Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free." The news published in the official announcement of Black Market was not well informed, but once it was released, it must be an absolute fact. Hushi's face was also incredible, looking at Shi-san. "Do you know who eliminated Luli sect?" Shi-san shook his head. The exclamation, shock, gloating, and misfortune in his eyes were intertwined. His expression could not be more complicated. "After I got the news from Senior Mei, I went to the black market in Yinjing City to inquire. It is said that Luli sect was eliminated this time mostly because they had sent a lot of elite disciples to participate in the big hunting match. Those who were left in the sect were mostly low-level martial artists of the Meridian stage and Foundation establishment stage. The only 3 nascent soul stage elders also didn't have high cultivation, and he was weak in fighting, so it gave the opponents a chance." Shensen's face became unpredictable for a while. He shook his head a moment later. Even if Luli sect really sent a large number of elite disciples, it was still a powerful sect. How could anyone catch them off guard? Moreover, Luli sect also has 9-turn Earth Mysterious Array as Mountain Guard Array, Even the martial artists at the peak of nascent soul stage can't break at will. After a while, Shunsen's tone was more solemn and doubtful. Not to mention, Luli's sect is located next to the magical beast forest, which is easy to defend and difficult to attack. It has a natural barrier. How could normal people go into the Luli sect without being detected, kill everyone in it, and disappeared without leaving a trace? If someone on the Miluo continent can do this, how terrifying and powerful should this person's strength be? Hushi's expression slightly condensed. Hushi didn't know why she thought of Nangong face when Shinsen said this. Inexplicably, she remembered the brief meeting with Nangong that day. The man told her in a casual tone that soon Luli's sect and Feng family would no longer exist. Was it Nangong who eliminated Luli's sect? No. How can this be possible? Hushi's thoughts quickly in her mind, but soon she denied herself. How could it be Nangong? How strong Luli's sect's strength was? Nangong strength is nothing more than a nascent soul stage. How could he break the mountain guard array and kill everyone in Luli's sect? There are even 3 elders with the same nascent soul stage. What's more, if Luli's sect was eliminated dozens of days ago, wasn't it the time when Nangong came to rescue me? How could he come to breaking spirit mountains at that critical moment? Hushi shook her head. Her logical mind told her that this could not be done by Nangong, but there was a voice faintly in her heart, telling her that Luli's sect's elimination was probably related to Nangong. Thinking of this, a complex emotion came into Hushi's heart. Before today, Luli's sect and Feng family were like huge trouble for her. Feng Lianying framed her and found someone to humiliate her. She could fight back and counterattack, but she couldn't kill Feng Lianying with a slap. Why? Wasn't it because Feng Lianying had Luli's sect and Feng family behind him? But now, the entire Luli sect had disappeared, so she couldn't believe it for a while. Shin Qingchua, who was dumbfounded by the sight, suddenly recovered. She held her face and exclaimed, Really? Really eliminated? It was Luli's sect. They actually all got killed? Who did it? It's really amazing. Uncle, do you really know? Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Shinsen had calmed down now. He shook his head in a complicated look. The power that could to wipe out Luli's sect is absolutely unusual. You may have heard the prestige of Luli's sect, but you certainly don't know that from the sect elders to outer disciple, they were all extremely loyal to Luli's sect. I have seen a battle in which Luli's sect's disciples participated. Most of them were only outer disciples, but when facing the fierce magical beasts, they were not afraid of dying at all. The sect elders let them to dive into a group of magical beasts to be a bait, and they rushed in without hesitation. Even if they were torn to pieces by the magical beasts, no one flinched. As Shunsan said this, he couldn't help frowning. I thought at the time that this Luli sect under the control of Feng family was a bit scary. Their disciples were not like martial artists who learned from the teacher, but more like the death warriors of the Feng family. If you want to destroy the martial arts with such high loyalty, even if you exhaust all the forces of our Qingxia sect, you will inevitably fail. Therefore, I really can't think of anyone else who can do this in Miluo continent. Shinsen's words made Hushi surprised. High loyalty? Extremely loyal that can sacrifice themselves? Is Shunsen really talking about Luli sect's disciples? Why the Luli sect's disciples I met in Seal Dragon Domain's secret territory were not the same as he described? She couldn't help but ask, were there really no one betraying Luli's sect for these hundreds of years? Even a cult that focuses on brainwashing can't make the followers never betray, right? Shinsen nodded and said, Naturally there is. But it is said that they ended up miserably, and there were many traitor disciples even kneeling and climbing back to the sect, begging the sect to forgive their crimes and let them accept punishment. Over time, no Luli sect's discipline dared to betray anymore. Hushi's pupil shrank, and she looked into Gu Liufeng's eyes. They both saw the shock in each other's eyes. Hushi looked at Shunsan and said in a deep voice, Elder Shin, have you seen those disciples who betrayed Luli's sect? What will they become? Before Shunsan hadn't spoken, A Qingxia sect disciple beside him said with pity, I really saw one. That was my fellow countryman. He was originally Lu Li sect's outer disciple. Later, he wanted to leave Lu Li sect for some reasons, but half a month after he left, he had completely changed when I met him again. He looked really like... Hushi narrowed her eyes slightly and said slowly, Is it that he will go crazy and lose his mind oftentimes? He also kept shouting to ask for something to eat. Moreover, after a period of time, his body will gradually lose weight like he is withered. His original cultivation will be degraded until he can no longer cultivate. Then Qingxia sect's disciple's eyes widened suddenly. His face was filled with unbelief. Young Master Shi, you... How do you know? Hushi did not answer, but she glanced at Gu Lufeng again. The two spoke the same 3 words in unison. Cold eating pill? Shinsen was surprised. What does young Master Shi mean? What is the cold eating pill? Gu Lufeng's expression became somber and cold. He said word by word as if he was gnashing his teeth. This is one of the most poisonous drugs in the world. It can be addictive and can control people's minds. As long as you have taken the cold eating pill for a long time, you can no longer get rid of it, otherwise you will suffer more miserable pain than having thousands of ants devouring your heart. Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. In order to continue to get the pills, no matter how powerful the martial artist is, he will lose all their senses. Whether it is to let him die, to kill, or to kneel on the ground to ask for mercy, he will do it. This is cold eating pill. Shun Sen's pupil shrank suddenly as he slapped on the table with a palm. There is such an evil drug in this world? Shin Qingchua even gripped a small fist. She said in nervous and shocked, Are you saying that the Lu Li sect's disciples who are not afraid of death actually ate the cold eating pill, so they had no choice but to do that? Then, aren't they too pathetic? Hushi sneered. Feng family is backed by the Doctors Association to use drugs and medical skills to achieve their dirty purpose. Are they still doing too little? In this way, the black law protector we encountered in the Murong mansion must also be a member of the Feng family. Gu Lufeng clenched his fists violently. His eyes revealed a cold gaze. He gnashed his teeth and spoke 2 words, Feng family. Hushi asked Shinsen, What impact will the Lu Li sect's destruction have on the Feng family? In the final analysis, Lu Li sect is actually just a huge force attached to the Feng family. For Feng family, the lack of Lu Li sect will definitely hurt them for a while. It is like one's right arm being chopped off. His strength will drop greatly. But, Shun Sen's eyes narrowed, but as long as Feng family's biggest support is still there, as long as the Doctors Association is willing to support the Feng family, then the Feng family cannot be destroyed. Because as long as they can provide enough medical pills, they monopolize the whole doctors and pharmaceutical market. Then, on this Miluo continent, there are more martial artists willing to work for Feng family. In particular, if there is such a weird and insidious medicinal pill like the cold eating pill in Feng family's hands, there are likely to be countless martial artists under their control. They have no choice but to listen to Feng family's command. Speaking of which, Shun Sun looked at Hushi with sparkling eyes. He slowly said, So Shiyu, if you really want to completely defeat the Feng family until they can no longer rise again, then now is the best opportunity. Feng family that had lost the Lu Li sect, lost their face and reputation in big hunting match, was now at the most desperate time. If at this time, there was a genius pill refiner appeared out of the blue who wasn't afraid of the suppression of Doctors Association, and he could disrupt the monopoly of Feng family and Doctors Association on the pharmaceutical market, then this blow would be truly fatal to the Feng family. Hushi nodded slightly when she heard the words. Her red lips slowly lifted, and her smile was brighter and dazzling than the summer sun. At the same time, the news that Lu Li sect was wiped out had spread across the entire Miluo continent like a storm. When the Feng family received this news, they were the ones who felt most shock. At first, they didn't even know when Lu Li sect was eliminated. Until one day, Little C, who was responsible for cleaning the ancestral hall, discovered that Elder Feng's soul lamp that was enshrined in the longevity hall was extinguished. He anxiously told this news to Patriarch Feng Tianba. Even at that time, Feng Tianba thought that something went wrong, or that Elder Feng's soul lamp extinguished because he accidentally got possessed by a demon while cultivating and died. However, when Feng Tianba and the elders of Feng family rushed to the mountain where Luli sect was located and saw that the scene of the entire sect was in a bloodbath, they were so shocked that they almost had a heart attack. Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. In particular, the main peak of the cliff adjacent to the magical beast forest was cut off by a sword. The broken peak looked empty, like it was mocking their incompetence. Feng Tianba walked among the dead bodies whose blood had dried up, only to feel that his chest was full of blood. He nearly vomited blood. Luli sect. This was Luli sect, one of the 4 major sects of the Miluo continent. How much effort did they take to build Luli sect to the current scale? Not to mention the human and material resources invested in it, just only how much cold eating pill they made to control Luli sect's disciples and turn them in a death warrior that serves only the Feng family? Besides, how could the cold eating pill be made easily? But in the blink of an eye, hundreds of years of hard work, Feng family's ambitions had been completely destroyed. How could Feng Tianba be reconciled? He took a deep breath and gritted his teeth hard. Who did it? Find them. You must find them. Someone actually dared to destroy the efforts of our Feng family for nearly 1,000 years. I must crash this culprit into pieces. The elders and the disciples behind Feng Tianba lowered in panic and responded with an affirmation. However, based on the ruthless means of this force, it could kill everyone in the Luli sect. How could it be found so easily? Feng Tianba clenched his fists with one hand and smashed at the tall, ancient tree beside him. The ancient tree, which could not be completely surrounded by a few people, fell to the ground as it gave a painful wailing. Just as everyone was anxious, an old man with white beard and hair and a slender figure stepped forward. He frowned as he said, "Tianba, do you think that this matter is related to the Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory?" Feng Tianba was stunned, and he recollected his thought. His original expression that was still full of anger immediately showed a respectful expression when he saw this white-bearded old man. Why would the great elder say this? The old man with a white beard touched his long beard. "Tianba, didn't you notice it? Since the emergence of the Sealed Dragon Domain, our Feng family starts to go wrong in everything. First of all, Lianying lost the inheritance of Purple Golden Palace in Sealed Dragon Domain. Then she lost her face after coming out. After that, Jiang family's supposedly secret dark spirit plant cultivation base was destroyed, and Elder Jiang also died to unnatural cause. Then, Murong family was eliminated. Cold eating flower was also disappeared bizarrely. Immediately after, our disciples that sent to the magical beast forest to look for the tree of spirit I also continued to disappear. And now, it's finally Luli sect's turn to be eliminated. All of this started after the appearance of Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory. It seems like there is a force in the midst of it, constantly fighting against our Feng family, weakening and encroaching on our Feng family's power a little bit. Feng Tianba heard the words, and his face suddenly showed a thoughtful expression. It was just that the deeper he thought, he realized that Great Elder was really right. Feng family's disadvantaged situation was completely after Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory was opened, and it had accumulated step by step until the current situation. It would be too coincidental to say that these things had nothing to do with Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory. After the old man with white beard finished speaking, he immediately said, "About the new owner of Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory, don't you say that Yunjing is checking on it? Is there no news yet?" Feng Tianba shook his head abruptly. "Not yet." The old man with white beard immediately snorted coldly. His eyes were full of dissatisfaction. What is going on with Yunjing recently? His efficiency in doing things is getting lower and lower. He can't even handle such a little Shengda hall. and he even let their fame grows bigger and bigger. Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. You'd better let him speed up otherwise. Humph. Feng family doesn't only has one talent, Feng Yunjing. If he can't be used, then replace him directly. The old man with a white beard made Feng Tianba broke into sweats like he was sitting on thorns. Although he knew that the old man with a white beard was taking the opportunity to raise an issue as his children and grandchildren couldn't take charge of the Feng family, this great elder was extremely powerful, and Feng Tianba knew that he had done wrong. How dared he argue with the great elder? He only gritted his teeth and said, "Great elder, rest assured, I will definitely educate Yunjing well." Immediately, he whispered, "Great elder, Luli sect is destroyed. I always feel very strange. Logically, if you want to reach the range of Luli sect, you will definitely alarm our arrays located outside and at the foot of the mountain. But now, Luli sect was eliminated silently. This force must be very powerful. Great elder, shall we ask the Venerable to report the situation to above and ask for help?" There was a little hesitation on the face of Great Elder. Then he shook his head and said, "The Venerable is now breaking through the divine stage behind closed door. Now is the most important moment. Let's not disturb him first. After the Venerable comes out, we will let him decide." The two were discussing in a solemn look, and suddenly, a great elder's disciple came forward in a hurry. The disciple's expression was extremely strange and shocked, and his obscure eyes glanced at Feng Tianba from time to time, which was full of inexplicable meaning. This made Feng Tianba feel very uncomfortable. Never mind if Great Elder was disrespectful to him. Now even the Great Elder's disciple looked at him with such disrespectful eyes. Did he still consider Feng Tianba as the patriarch? Soon, the disciple took out an inscribed jade slip from his arm and handed it to the Great Elder. He whispered, "Master, I think you better have a look at this thing." Great Elder's face looked suspicious. He took over the inscribed jade slip, and he was about to activate it. The disciple's face was red. He immediately raised his voice and said, Master, please watch it AR. Secretly. This couldn't be played in the public to put shame on the Feng family again." Great Elder frowned, and the displeasure and doubts on his face were even more. He said coldly, "So much nonsense. What the hell are you doing?" But he still used divine sense to peel into the inscribed jade slip. However, when he activated the inscribed jade slip and saw the content played in the inscribed jade slip, his body suddenly froze. At the next moment, he was like being bitten by something dirty. He quickly exited the inscribed jade slip, but his bluish-purple complexion couldn't recover for a while. He gritted his teeth and tried to hold back the shame and anger that was rolling in his heart, but he couldn't hold it back. He smashed the inscribed jade slip in his hand at Feng Tianba fiercely. He screamed furiously, "Feng Tianba, look at the good daughter you taught. Our Feng family's face is shamed by her." After talking, it seemed as though he felt sick for staying more than a second. Great Elder swept his sleeve and turned away angrily. Feng Tianba took over the inscribed jade slip that was smashed by Great Elder. His face was full of doubts. He glanced at the Great Elder's disciple that had not left, and he frowned for a moment, but he still used divine sense to peek into the inscribed jade slip. The inscribed jade slip played a clear video soon. It was obviously recorded with recording talisman in a mountainous area. But if it was just a video, the Great Elder had nothing to be angry about. As Feng Tianba was thinking this way, the scene that made him burst into anger appeared. Among the trembling grasses, a woman entangled with 7 or 8 men. Her body kept undulating. The scene was so obscene that it was disgusting. Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. But that woman was actually his daughter, Feng Lianying. When Feng Tianba got out of the inscribed jade slip, his body was shaking. He kept shouting in his mouth, "Animal! Bitch! Where is that animal bitch? Find her quickly! Did you hear me?" The hand holding the inscribed jade slip was tightened and tightened. With a bang, the inscribed jade slip crashed into powder and fell down. It could be seen how anxious he was at this moment. Feng Tianba took a deep breath and looked at the great elder's disciple, Yun Shun. "How many of this inscribed jade slip is outside? You must get them all back. The men in those videos, and those that saw the video, you must get rid of them. This matter shouldn't be spread." Feng Yunshan, the great elder's disciple, coughed a little and said again, "Reply to Patriarch, the man in the video, except brother Nye Jinshan. The others were killed by junior sister apprentice Feng. However, it isn't easy to kill all those who have seen this video. Why? Is there anyone in this Miluo continent that my Feng family dare not deal with?" Feng Yunshan shook his head quickly. He silenced for a while before saying with a strange look, "Patriarch, it is not that our Feng family dare not deal with it, but we can't deal with so many people at all." He gritted his teeth and glanced at Feng Tianba's look before saying with a suppressed voice, "About that now. This kind of inscribed jade slip is basically in the entire black market. Everyone basically has a copy. Even if those who didn't buy the copy, they had most likely seen it in the black market. Most of the customers in the black market don't announce their name. Even if we want to deal with them, I'm afraid it's not possible. Excuse me, Patriarch, do we still need to collect those inscribed jade slips?" As Feng Tianba heard the words, he only felt his head was buzzing. Feng family's fame was just destroyed like that, and it was still destroyed by his good daughter. When he thought that all the martial artists in the Miluo continent had seen this video, then they were mocking him for failing to teach his daughter, he felt like his chest was being hit heavily by a hammer. In the future, how did Feng Tianba have the face to be the Feng family's patriarch? How did he have to face to walk in the immortal world? Feng Yunshan didn't seem to notice his pain at all, and he added, "Moreover, I also heard that someone accidentally played this video at the final awards ceremony of the big hunting match. So all the martial artists present at the time, including the elders and the disciples of the other 3 major sects, all saw." After hearing this, Feng Tianba couldn't help it anymore. He spat out blood, and his whole body was crumbling. "That animal. Damn that animal. I should have choked her to death when she starts to make a sound." When Feng Yunjing hurried back to Feng family, he heard that Feng Tianba got furious that he vomited blood and fainted. He also heard about Luli sect's incident. When he thought of the force that could wipe out Luli sect, Feng Yunjing also burst into a cold chill. He always felt that a pair of eyes were watching coldly at their Feng family, waiting for them to be sloppy and giving them a fatal blow. "No, we are Feng family. Feng family has never failed for more than 10 years. How can it be easily defeated?" Feng Yunjing shook his head and removed the absurd thought from his mind. He frowned at Feng Tianba's manservant. "How is father's situation? Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. The manservant said worriedly. Patriarch was already shocked and angry when he knew Luli's sect being destroyed, but he later immediately saw the miss video. He became infuriated immediately, then he vomited blood and fainted. Feng Yunjing's face was distorted when he heard of Feng Lianying's video. On the way home, he also saw the video, and he knew that everyone in the black market had a copy of it. When Feng Yunjing thought that the woman who made the obscene and shameless posture was her sister, he could not wait to tear her into pieces. "What about Feng Lianying?" he asked coldly. The manservant hurriedly said, "The miss is locked in the ice fire cave as soon as she came back, and she received a punishment of 100 lashes every day. She couldn't get out until the patriarch says stop." "Humph, she deserves it." Feng Yunjing made a cold snort. Then he no longer bothered about Feng Lianying. He quickly walked into Feng Tianba's room. Feng Tianba's complexion at this time was much better than a few days ago, but his face still appeared a little pale, especially the excellent appearance that he maintained well. Now there were quite some white hairs, and there were more wrinkles on his face. Like he got a decade old in an instant. Feng Yunjing's heart sank a little bit. He remembered his mistake in finding Ouyang Haoshuan. Plus, by Sha's death, he didn't know how to tell these things to his father now. Feng Tianba's expression had calmed down a lot when he saw Feng Yunjing. He asked him to sit down in front of him. For this only son, a genius who could enter the nascent soul stage at a young age, he was still very fond of and valued him. Yunjing, what did you get about miracle healer Shi? Feng Yunjing quickly lifted his spirit and said, Father was right. Shi was indeed the one who healed Ouyang Haoshuan's broken veins, and Shengda Hall as well as the best quality pill. All of them are related to Shi Yu. It is said that the best quality pill came from Shi Yu's master. Feng Tianba narrowed his eyes slightly. Who is his master? This is not clear yet. Feng Yunjing shook his head. No one has ever seen Shi Yu's master. The medical pills of Shengda Hall are provided directly by Shi Yu. No one else knew the source of her medicinal pills. However, I heard one thing from He Sha. What's that? When Morong family was destroyed that day, He Sha once rushed to rescue them. In Morong Mansion, he did meet several people. One of them was a powerhouse of nascent soul stage. However, these people couldn't fight against He Sha. He Sha almost caught all of them, but at the last minute, a crazy old man suddenly came out. The old man's cultivation was extremely unfathomable, and he knocked He Sha out of thousands meters away with a slap, making him unable to fight back. He Sha also said that the strength of the crazy old man may be higher than the venerable. Feng Tianba's face slowly dignified. His expression was uncertain. Feng Yunjing said again, He Sha heard that the old man claimed to be the master of one of the young men, and that young man, He Sha suspected that he was Shi Yu. Feng Tianba's expression was full of shock. He gritted his teeth and said after a while, This matter must be reported to the venerable. There is actually an old man with such a strength standing behind Shi Yu. Could it be that Luli sect was exterminated because of that old man? Yunjing, you continue to investigate and find out what the old man's identity. Does he have anything to do with Shi Yu? Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Thinking of this young miracle healer, Shi Yu who seemed to appear out of thin air, Feng Tianba's expression immediately became extremely gloomy and ugly. Didn't I ask you to go out and bring Shi Yu back to me this time? Such a person must serve our Feng family. If she can't be used, then you must destroy him. Yunjing, what the hell are you doing? Feng Yunjing's face was also ugly. After a long time, he gritted his teeth and said, Father, rest assured that one day I will capture him back and let him go nowhere except Feng family. One day, I will let Shi Yu become my woman who crawls under my feet and becomes my personal sex slave. Feng Tianba waved his hand and said, You can leave now. You investigate clearly on what I instructed you. Don't give the incompetence impression to those elders. You will be in charge of the Feng family in the future. This time Feng Yunjing didn't nod his head and walked away obediently, but he showed a hesitating expression. What's wrong? What else? Feng Yunjing hesitated for a long while before saying in a low voice, Father, Bai Sha is dead. What did you say? Feng Tianba straightened up and stared at Feng Yunjing with bloodshot eyes. Who is dead? Bai Sha? He is a master of the nascent soul stage. How could he die? Feng Yunjing swallowed the saliva in his mouth. Then he said in a difficult way, We found fire element spirit pearl and let it condense into shape. However, the person with fire element spirit pearl was too stimulated. He exploded his gold core in suicide with Bai Sha. Fire element spirit pearl? Feng Tianba bounced from the bed this time. He said in a trembling voice, Is it really fire element spirit pearl? Yes. I personally watched the pearl manifest. What about the fire element spirit pearl? Did you get it back? Compared to getting Fire Element Spirit Pearl, losing a Bai Sha was really nothing. Feng Yunjing closed his eyes and clenched his teeth. He only said in a hoarse voice after a long time, "Sorry, father." The man who condensed the Fire Element Spirit Pearl ran away. Ran away. Feng Tianba yelled. He suddenly felt dizzy. Immediately after that, he raised his head and slapped his beloved son's face hard. That's Fire Element Spirit Pearl. Such an important thing. Why don't you come back to discuss with me first? Now Bai Sha is dead and you didn't get the Spirit Pearl. How do you want me to explain to the sect elders? Feng Tian's domineering complexion turned to blue and white from time to time. A sore sweetness rose from his already burning chest, and he spat out blood again. Father, don't call me father, Feng Tianba said fiercely with a trembling body. You two animals are killing me purposely. I. Quickly say who condensed the Fire Element Spirit Pearl. It is Ouyang Haoshuan of Jinling Country. Pass down my command immediately. Find the traces of Ouyang Haoshuan at all costs. For all the inner and outer disciples, as long as anyone can find Ouyang Haoshuan, he will get an advancement pill. Do it now. Yes, father. Feng Yunjing helped his father to lie back on the bed. He closed his eyes, covering the shame and anger in his eyes. Whether it is Shi Yu or Fire Element Spirit Pearl, I will definitely get it. Definitely will. Qingxia sect. At this time, in the hall of Qingxia sect, the master, great elders, and cadres all gathered together, and each face was complex and dignified. What do you all think about Luli Sec's massacre? Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. I thought for a whole night last night, but I really can't think of any force in Miluo continent today that can destroy Luli sect. At least we, Qingxia sect, can never do it. As the sect master heard this, he frowned instead. He sighed, but I'm afraid the Feng family won't think so. Now at Miluo continent, the only one who can compete with Feng family by force is our Qingxia sect and Shen family. If the Feng family can't find the person who destroyed Luli sect, it is very likely that they will suspect us Qingxia sect. This is exactly what we are worried about. Another elder frowned tightly, clutching the beard on his face. Feng family is already afraid of our Shen family. This time Luli sect is exterminated. Their loss is heavy, so they are afraid that our Shen family will grow bigger. They monopolize the medicinal pills to make us run short on money. Now, even if we didn't do it, I'm afraid they will put the blame on us. They can also cut off the source of medicinal pills for our Qingxia sect with a justified reason. What should we do? If there are no medical pills, how can our disciples advance and cultivate? Is it that we have to beg for mercy from the Feng family? In your dream, didn't you see the video circulating in the black market today? How good can the Feng family be to bring up such a shameless daughter? We definitely can't compromise with the Feng family. Yes. We have long displeased with the Feng family's doings. There was a lot of discussion in the hall, and they all looked worried. Most of the people in the Shen family were traditionally stubborn and just, so they were naturally displeased with the petty means of the Feng family. However, now the weakness of their sect was in the hands of others. If they didn't compromise, they would give up on their disciples' future. While everyone was depressed, a disciple suddenly took an inscribed jade slip coming in. This was a message from Shansen through the unique flying eagle of Qingxia sect. Why did Shansen send a message at this time? Moreover, he and the group of disciples who participated in the big hunting match should also be back. They hadn't back yet, but Shansen sent an inscribed jade slip instead. Did something wrong on them? The sect master took over the inscribed jade slip and used his divine sense to read it. Suddenly, his original calm face suddenly changed. He suddenly stood up and stared at the disciple as he said in a trembling voice, Is this true? The disciple was taken aback. and the elders of the whole hall were taken aback by his voice. Everyone looked at the sect master together. The sect master took a deep breath and said, "Is there anything other than the inscribed jade slip sent by Flying Eagle?" The disciple suddenly came into his sense and nodded quickly. "Yes, there is. There is also a storage ring. I wanted to say that just now." The sect master grabbed the storage ring. When his hand swept, the items in the storage ring appeared in front of everyone. That were jars of medicinal pills. The sect master took a medicinal pill and smelled it. Then he tasted it again. His narrowed eyes suddenly widened as he exclaimed, "Upper-grade medicinal pills. These are really all upper-grade medicinal pills." The elders were a little bit confused by the sudden change in front of them. How can Shunsan send so many medical pills? And these are the top-grade, third-grade medical pills? So many medicinal pills. Where did Shunsan get them? The sect master smiled, revealing the delight in his eyes. He passed the inscribed jade slip to the elders. After the elders read the jade slip, they all showed shocked expressions. Is Shunsan saying the truth? Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Isn't all the medicinal pills here? And we will be supplied with 10,000 third-grade medicinal pills every year in the future. That is 10,000. Isn't that mean that we no longer have to be afraid of Feng family's coercion? The sect master was pulling his beard as he said with a chuckle, "It's not just that we don't have to be afraid of the Feng family. I'm afraid the Feng family needs to be afraid of us in the future." Hehe. Sinair and Chua Air really made a big contribution during this trip. In the next period of time, Hushi entered the nonstop cultivation and pill refining time. The 4th grade fire attribute cultivation method that she just got was like a timely help for her. With the fire attribute cultivation method for her cultivation, her fire spiritual power could be improved. This way she could refine pill faster, and she could also produce medicinal pills of a higher grade. While practicing fire attribute cultivation method, Hushi once again discovered the benefits of Maha inheritance, a 4th grade cultivation method that a person might not be able to fully understand the principle of the spiritual power operation after studying for a month. She actually understood it with just one night due to the blessing of Maha inheritance. After a month of cultivation, her cultivation soon reached the completion of the meridian stage. She was only one step away from the gold core stage. She only needed an opportunity to condense the cyclones in her dantian into a gold core to break through her current cultivation. Moreover, the peak of the gold core stage was simply not her opponent with her current strength. She was initially a mortal who didn't have any cultivation, but she used less than a year to reach the completion of the meridian stage. Ordinary people needed more than a dozen or decades of hard work, and she actually achieved it in a few months. If people got to know about her speed and advancement, all the martial artists would be dropping their jaws. When Hushi fully understood the fire attribute cultivation methods, Hushi began to try to refine the 4th grade medicinal pills. Little Egg tilted his small head, watching the fast hand movement of Hushi beside him, his big eyes flickering, showing that he was very focused. At this time, the light golden spirit fire released by Hushi had become golden red at this time, and the spiritual power was much stronger than the original. After half an hour, Hushi's forehead sweated, but finally, a burst of fragrance spread from the furnace. The 4th grade medicinal pills had been successfully refined. Hushi lifted the furnace cover and felt a burst of fragrance. This time she made the 4th grade spirit healing pill, which was the simplest of the 4th grade medicinal pills. Before she had the time to take out the medicinal pills, Little Egg had grabbed a bunch and put it into his mouth. The little mouth was full, and his mouth was chewing with difficulty like a little squirrel. There was also an unclear voice in his throat. "It's delicious." Hushi couldn't help laughing. It's just that there weren't many pills in this furnace. There were only 70 or so in total. Now that Little Egg ate a quarter by just one grab. It looked even more pitiful. Hushie grabbed a medicinal pill and stuffed it into her mouth, muttering, "Why little egg can refine so many pills every time, but I can only refine dozens of pills. This is really unfair." However, as soon as she swallowed the medicinal pill, her complexion changed. At almost the blink of an eye, the medicinal pills that entered her abdomen quickly dissolved in the dantian and spread everywhere in her body. The originally dried spiritual power was filled up without any pause, and she didn't need to use spiritual power to activate it. Hushie was dull. What's going on? Not to mention this rich spiritual power and purity. Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. She had never heard that the fourth-grade spirit healing pill could be absorbed instantly after consuming without even activating it with spiritual power. Wouldn't it be comparable to Joyo's spirit spring water? Moreover, she does not dare to take ninth secluded spirit spring water in front of other martial artists. Even if it was a diluted spirit spring water, she was also cautious as she was afraid that the others would covet on it. But the fourth-grade spirit healing pill was different. She could take it out any time and eat it as a jelly bean. Wasn't that mean she didn't have to worry about exhausting her spiritual power after fighting with someone because she could instantly replenish instantly at any time? However, what disappointed Hushie was the spirit healing pills which were refined by Little Egg. Although he could still produce thousands of them at once, the pills no longer had the effect of instant recovering spiritual power. This was probably the disadvantage of mass production. Little Egg was even more disdainful of the medicinal pills he had refined, and he ran over to secretly eat the medicinal pills that Hushie refined. In the end, the Hexus was helpless. "Little Egg, if you eat it like this, how can Mom use these pills to earn money?" Little Egg held a dozen of fourth grade of spirit healing pill in his hands, and he said with an unwilling and crying face, "What is money? Why make money? Mom, this is delicious. Little Egg wants to eat it all. I don't want to give it to others." Hushie said with a smile, "I need to earn money to heal Aunt Little Purple and Little Cow and to let Little Dragon advance. I need to earn money to give you a good meal every day. Be good. I will refine more delicious medicinal pills for you in the future." Okay, Little Egg reluctantly handed back the medicinal pills to Hushie, and he still remembered to remind her, "Mom, you can't lie." Hushie smiled and took over the medicinal pills. As she prepared to put these remaining dozens of pills into a porcelain bottle, when she looked back, she was shocked to find that the dozens of medicinal pills just above the furnace were all gone. She leaned forward in surprise, only to find a chubby little cow lying beside the furnace and chewing the medical pills in his hand. The green bean-like eyes flickered, telling an unspeakable enjoyment and excitement. "Little dumb cow, you are finally awake." Hushie was delighted instead. She walked to the other side of the furnace. "How do you feel? Do you feel better?" Little dumb cow raised his head and looked at her foolishly, showing a somewhat silly and cute smile. Then his eyes turned and looked at Little Egg by the side. In an instant, the green bean-like eyes burst into a brilliant light. He sprinted straight toward Little Egg like an arrow. He stuck out his long tongue and licked Little Egg constantly. He also held the medicinal pills he had just stolen in his paws and carried them to the front of Little Egg to flatter him. Little dumb cow had the look of, "Please enjoy it. Quickly praise me." Little Egg cried out loud. He instantly forgot about the scene where Little dumb cow rescued them previously. He crawled onto Hushie, held her neck, and refused to go down. He kept shouting in his mouth, "Ugly cow, you must not lick me again, otherwise I will let my mom throw you out of the void." "Whoa, Mom, he is indecent to me again. He even steals your medicinal pills. I don't want to be friend with Little Cow anymore." The little golden dragon who had been cultivating in the spirit spring was awakened. Hearing the cry of Little Egg, he rushed over and spoke to Little dumb cow in a condescending manner. "Stupid cow, I warn you. We spiritual pets have the order of arrival. Although your strength is the strongest now, you are the last who joined our master, so you are all our subordinate. You have to listen to us in the future. You are not allowed to bully little egg, otherwise we will beat you. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. On the side, purple abyss vines soared into the sky and swayed in the sky. She looked at little dumb cow with a threatening gaze. Little egg shook his fist in Hushy's arms and shouted, "We will really beat you." Little dumb cow looked at them in a silly manner. Then he ran to Hushy's feet with short legs, spinning around her excitedly. The dumb cute cow with slow reaction didn't understand that the bosses in the void were threatening him. Hushy looked at the group of little guys, only to feel a headache. She always felt that her own void would only become more and more chaos in the future. When she thought that, the back of her head started to hurt again. Because of the cooperation plan proposed by Hushy, Shansan, and several disciplines participating in Big Hunting Match stayed in Yinjing City. In order to obtain medical pills from Hushy easily, their Qingxia sect decided to set up a branch in Yinjing City as a window for the cooperation with Shengda Hall. The person in charge is the elite discipline of several gold core stages participating in the Big Hunting Match. In fact, Qingxia sect had branches in many places. After all, a sect also needs income to feed so many people. It was just that Jinling country was too small, and it lacked resources. Plus, it was previously monopolized by Feng family, so Qingxia sect never considered setting up a branch in Yinjing City. But now, it was clear that Yinjing City would become one of the main sources of income for Qingxia sect in the future. Shensen also didn't know whether to cry or to laugh when she received the message from the elders. The elders attached great importance to this cooperation. Not only they sent a large number of elites to Yinjing to assist in cooperation matters, a few elders even wanted to visit Yinjing City in person. Letting a nascent soul stage elder sit in Yinjing City might scare the Jinling Emperor, Shangguanwanji, to death. Moreover, it would make the Feng family be wary of them. Even Shansan himself had to go back after reaching a cooperation agreement. Fortunately, Shansan's timely communication stopped them and prevented them from acting rashly and inadvertently alerting the enemy. Only then the elders dispelled these thoughts. However, this also showed how much attention Qingxia sect had paid to this cooperation. As Shansan was lost in his thought, he heard the indignation voice of his niece. Where did the bastard, Gu Lufeng, go? Yesterday, he dared to say that my moves are not right. I want to see how powerful he is. Fellow apprentice Jin, you must teach him a lesson for me. Don't let him ruin our Qingxia sect's majesty. With this said, Shun Qingchua had already entered the room. When she saw only Shinsan in the room, she couldn't help but pouted. Uncle, did you see that guy, Gu Lufeng? Why can't I find him anywhere? Shunsen couldn't help holding his forehead. Chua young Master Gu is very busy. He has a lot of business to do every day. How does he have the time to fool around with you? How am I fooling around? Shin Qingchua said angrily with her small nose wrinkled. He obviously looked down on me from the beginning. He always ignores me when I talk to him. I don't think he is that great. Isn't he just a subordinate of Brother Shiyu? How busy can he be? Before Shansan could speak, a clear and steady voice came from the door. Gu Lufeng is not my subordinate. He is my friend and brother. Shiyu, Brother Shiyu. Seeing Hushy, Shansan and Shun Qingchua were both happy, and they stood up quickly. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. During this time, Shiyu asked Shisan to send many upper-grade medicinal pills, but she always disappeared. Shinsan guessed that he was busy helping his master to refine pills, but now that he saw Shiyu again, He was a little uncertain. Shiyu, has your cultivation improved again? When Shun-san asked this sentence, he couldn't help but sigh. How long has this Shiyu been separated from us? Has it been a month? Her cultivation is improved again? At this point, she has already reached the peak of the foundation establishment stage, and she almost enters the meridian stage. With such qualities and talents, I can't even find anyone like her from the talented cultivators among Qingxia sect, right? What's more, he is still good at pill refining and medical skills. If I can snatch this kind of talent back to Qingxia sect, I was just enlightened a little. Hushi simply brushed her cultivations matter off. She just looked like she was at the foundation establishment stage on the surface. If the others knew that she almost reached the gold core stage, she took out 2 palm-sized porcelain bottles and handed them to Shun-san. Elder Shun, I want to give these 2 bottles of medicinal pills to Qingxia sect. I hope they can help you. Shin Qingchua wanted to get the things in Shun-san's hand to take a look. Then she said, Brother Shiyu, why you only give my uncle? What about me? I am also very good to you. Hushi laughed, and she took another bottle from her arm and threw it to her. She said with a smile, I refine this just for fun. It doesn't help much for cultivation, but it is still a nice pill. I will give this to Miss Shun. Shin Qingchua took the medicinal pills and opened the bottle with excitement, but there was no spirit and fragrance coming from the pills. She suddenly frowned and said, Brother Shiyu, how can you be so mean? Why do you give me these medicinal pills without spiritual power? What are these medicinal pills? Youth retaining pill. Hushi's answer was simple. After taking it, you can maintain your appearance for 100 years. It really is not a rare thing. Youth retaining pill? As Shen Qingchua heard the words, she couldn't even speak properly. Her hand holding the pills was trembling. God, youth retaining pill, this is the youth retaining pill. Brother Shiyu actually gives me a bottle of medicinal pills that many women dream of in the immortal realm. He even said that it is not a rare thing. Shin Qingchua felt that her head was a little dizzy. She looked at the medicinal pills bottle in her hand and pinched her face, seriously doubting that she was in a dream. At this time, Shinsen suddenly exclaimed, What are these medicinal pills? Hushi said with a smile, These 2 bottles are the 4th grade spirit healing pill and 4th grade meridians cleansing pill. Spirit healing pill can instantly recover spiritual power, and you don't have to absorb it with spiritual power. For martial artists at the gold core stage, it can recover 100% spiritual power. Nascent soul stage martial artists can only replenish 1/3 of their spiritual power. As for Meridian's cleansing pill, it is mainly to remove impurities from the martial artist meridians and expand the meridians to accommodate more spiritual power. I don't know how effective it is, even the name was decided by Shi-san. The best quality pill. This is the legendary best quality pill. This was Shun-sen's first time to see the best quality pill. His mood could hardly be described in words. When he just took the 4th grade spirit healing pill, the feeling that his meridians were instantly filled with spiritual power seemed to remain in his heart. With such medicinal pills, he could almost be invincible in battle. Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Such medicinal pills. There are actually such medicinal pills in the world. Shinsen took a deep breath. His gaze looking at Hushi was no longer simply awe, but they were rather complicated. Such a shockingly brilliant boy was definitely not their Qingxia sect could contain, or even this Miluo continent. Shiyu, this medicinal pills, can our Shin family buy them? Of course. Hushi did not hesitate. You can contact Gu Lufeng if you need to buy. He will be responsible for setting the market volume and the price of medicinal pills. I will let him give a cheaper price for the Shin family. As soon as Hushi thought that she still had to support Ouyang Zhixiong's entire 100,000 armies, she instantly felt stress. One could never say that he had too much crystal stone. Hearing Gu Lufeng's name, Shin Qingchua couldn't help but pursed her mouth and asked, Brother Shiyu, Is that Gu Lufeng really your brother? Do you know why he wears a mask every day? I let him take it off, but he was unwilling to take it down. I hate him the most. Hushi shook her head and smiled. Lufeng naturally has his reason to wear a mask. Little girl, stop the nonsense. Shinsen knocked on his niece's little head. I let you stay with me, but it isn't for you to mess with Master Gu and Shiyu. If you cause more trouble again, I will send you back home. Shin Qingchua immediately looked dejected. Her eyes were full of indignation. But then she couldn't help but look at Hushi. Brother Shiyu, do you know where Gu Lufeng went today? I've searched Shengda Hall all over, but I can't find him. This bad guy said that my technique is bad yesterday. I practiced well after I went back last night. Today, I have to let him say that I did well. Hushi thought for a while and said, if he is not in Shengda Hall, he may be in Virtue Home. Although Virtue Home was left to Zhou Yanan to take care of, it was founded by Gu Lufeng after all, and Gu Lufeng liked all the children who had similar experiences with him. Plus now Gu Yulan and Gu Yidao lived there. So as long as he was free, he would go there often. Seeing the back of the little niece hurried out as soon as she got the Virtue Home address, Shan couldn't help but shook his head. He glanced at Hushi. This Shiyu is really outstanding. I'm afraid that my little niece is not worthy of him. Fortunately, Chua holds back her thought before it develops into love. Otherwise, she must be really sad. However, the young man named Gu Lufeng is not bad. He is at the gold core stage at a young age. In addition, he has a friend and master like Shiyu. His future achievements are definitely unlimited. Shinsen's thoughts could not help but drift away. At this time, Shin Qingchua hastily arrived at Virtue Home. She hurriedly pushed open the door. As she was just about to shout Gu Liufeng's name, she was immediately stunned by the scene in front of her. The tall, slender Gu Lufeng was squatting on the ground at this moment. A little girl with a croissant lay on his back and giggled. In front of him stood a 6- or 7-year-old boy who was making gestures with excitement while he was talking to Gu Lufeng. As he was jumping around, suddenly the boy's hand hit Gu Liufeng's face. The mask that had covered up his face fell down, revealing a clear and enchanting look. It was just that on this near-perfect face, there was a long red scar which looked hideous and sad under the sun. Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Gu Liufeng's mask was knocked off by the child, but he was not annoyed. Instead, he showed a gentle smile. Shin Qingchua stood blankly at the door. Looking at Gu Liufeng's face, for a time it seemed like she was infatuated. She never thought about the man, who quarreled with her every day and was rejected by her, actually had such a handsome face that wasn't inferior to that of brother Shiyu. Even for the scarlet scar, Shin Qingchua didn't find it ugly at all. She just felt that it had added a bit of charm that made her heart palpitating. It was early in the morning when Song Mountain's foot was still sparsely populated, and the spirit was barren. Naylan Ziyun stood in front of the plain old courtyard with disgust on his face. This was the first time he had set foot in this courtyard where Naylan Hushi lived. He knew at a very young age that he had a twin sister, Naylan Hushi. But this sister's talents were different from his. Naylan Hushi looked ugly, and her body wasn't suitable to cultivate at all. When he was a child, before Naylan Ziyun studied art at the Qixing Palace, he had been ridiculed by people due to his useless twin sister. Naylan Ziyun, you and the ugly woman are born to the same concubine. So disgusting. Yeah, even I feel ashamed to die to have such a useless sister. We don't play with him. What if we get infected by his sister? Naylan Ziyun was angry and hateful at that time. He often couldn't help cursing his ugly sister to die, especially once he hid in the room. He heard that ugly woman ran over with a weepy face and said that she wanted to see his brother. Naylan Ziyun still remembered that after Naylan Hushi was chased back to the courtyard, the group of people discussed her with the expression full of contempt and disgust. Even he was being looked at with a peculiar gaze. This situation was getting better until Naylan Ziyun went to learn at the Qixing Palace, and Nalan Hushi was thrown into the courtyard to let her perish on herself. But as soon as he thought that this woman was still alive, and he would be ridiculed when he got home, Nalan Ziyun felt disgusted. He wanted to find someone to secretly murder this ugly sister, but his father would never allow anyone to kill Nalan Hushi. Nalan Ziyun was very respectful and afraid of this father. How dare he violate him? So in the end, he came up with a strategy of 2 birds with 1 stone. Nalan Ziyun knew that Nalan Feishue liked the prince, and that Nalan Feishue was arrogant and jealous. She hated Nalan Hushi to her bone. So he set up a trap to make Nalan Feishue think that the prince fell in love with Nalan Hushi's special physique, which was good for cultivation. Nalan Feishue had been longing to be able to marry the prince. How could she let Nalan Hushi hook up with the prince? By the time when Nalan Feishue killed Nalan Hushi, it had nothing to do with him. Nalan Ziyun thought well. He thought he would definitely not see Nalan Hushi when he came back this time. But who knows, on the first day of his return to his house, his father asked him to pick up the waste from Nalan Hushi and said that his sister and his brother should be close. To make him close to the ugly woman, Nalan Ziyun really feels disgusting when he dreams. And the useless waste of Nalan Feishue, who didn't kill Nalan Hushi for so long, it was a waste of his good strategy. But I remembered the boy I met on Breaking Spirit Mountain. Please go to https://www.novelupdates.cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Nalan Ziyun could not help but frown. Maybe it wasn't that Nalan Feishue was useless, but someone saved Nalan Hushi. That person was probably Shiyu. When thinking of Shiyu, Nalan Ziyun gritted his teeth. The bastard put shame on me in front of the prince and my fellow apprentices. One day, I will certainly make the boy pay the price. At this time, Nalan Ziyun's manservant had stepped forward to knock on the door. A maid dressed in plain clothes opened the door. As soon as Nalan Ziyun's manservant saw her, he said arrogantly, "Why are you so slow? Step aside quickly, let our young master go in and ask Third Miss to hurry out and greet him." But the maid was unmoved. She just looked at them coldly. "Who are you?" "Hey, little maid, do you understand the rules? You don't even know us?" The manservant was immediately ashamed into anger. "Look clearly. We are the people of Nalan family. The man behind me is Nalan Mansion's young master. You stop dilly-dallying blocking my young master. Do you still want to work here?" "Oh, you are from the Nalan Mansion." That girl showed a meaningful expression. Then she shut the door heavily. A cold voice came from behind the door. "Wait, I will inform Mississippi." The manservant's nose was crooked when the door was suddenly closed, covering his face while snorting. Nalan Ziyun sneered. Nalan Hushi really regards herself as Mississippi. She is just a useless waste. She even dares to make me wait. Thinking of this, Nalan Ziyun raised his foot and stomped on the door. The door cracked and collapsed, and Nalan Ziyun strode in with a sneer of disdain. The manservant also endured the pain and walked behind Nalan Ziyun with an arrogant face. He couldn't help shouting, "Where is the mammy and butler who are in charge of the courtyard? Master and madam instructed you to take care of the Third Mississippi. Is this how you all do things? Since when can a little maid show her angry face to our young master?" Before the manservant finished speaking, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his waist and legs. He shouted, "Ai-yo!" Then he staggered and fell to the ground with his head down. Nalan Ziyun, who was in front of him, also made the same pose. The two were originally dressed nicely, but the courtyard was muddy. Although the place was cleaned, there was still a lot of dust. After the fall, Nalan Ziyun and his manservant suddenly fell with their face eating the mud. The two stood up quickly. Although they didn't suffer any injuries, their disgraced faces really look embarrassing. Nalan Ziyun was full of anger. As he was about to get rage, he heard a woman's cold voice from the front. "Miss is in the backyard. Come in then." It was a woman with a cold look and sharp eyes, but her features were not so obvious. Although she was dressed as a maid, and her cultivation couldn't be seen clearly, the fierce vibe seemed to be released from her bone, making Nalan Ziyun chill. Nalan Ziyun gritted his teeth and followed behind the maid. He wanted to see what Nalan Hushi wanted to do. As soon as he entered the backyard, he saw a slim girl sitting in front of the hall and drinking tea leisurely. She wore the plainest clothes without any accessories on her head. It made her yellowish face and puffy eyelids look even more down. Nalan Ziyun immediately showed a disgusted expression. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Nalan Hushi was still the ugly look in his impression which made him sick. Such a woman is actually my own sister. Why is God so unfair to me? However, remembering his father's request to him, Nalan Ziyun still suppressed his tumultuous emotions. He took a step forward and politely said, "Third sister, long time no see. How have you been?" Hushi raised her eyebrows and looked at him with an ambiguous smile. "Who are you? Why do you act familiar to me?" Nalan Ziyun was stunned slightly. His heart slightly palpitated as he looked into the dark and clear eyes. He had an illusion like he was being stared at by a powerful magical beast or martial artist. He even felt a chill down his spine. But immediately, he could see clearly the face of the person in front of him. It was still the yellowish and ugly face. How powerful could she be? Nalan Ziyun was ashamed into anger for a while, but he still patiently said, "Third sister, have you forgotten? I am Ziyun. We are born to the same mother. When you were a child, you often came to Nalan Mansion to find me." Hushi could not help but chuckle softly. "Oh, it turns out to be Ziyun. Since you also know that I used to go to you when I was a kid, do you think I'm staying here well? My dear brother." Nalan Ziyun was astounded. He glanced at the shabby furnishings around the courtyard. Then he immediately showed an ashamed expression. "Sister, I'm sorry. I was sent to Qixing Palace to learn martial art when I was very young. I don't know how have you been. I thought you still live a luxurious life in the courtyard and being treated as the third miss. I didn't expect this place to be so simple. If I knew that my sister was living a miserable life here, I would definitely come back early so my sister will not have to suffer anymore." With that said, Nalan Ziyun couldn't help but step forward and said sincerely, "But sister doesn't have to worry anymore. I have persuaded father. Today, sister will return to Nalan Mansion. From then on, my sister will be able to live a luxurious life." Hushi raised her eyebrows slightly. Her deep eyes looked around Nalan Ziyun's face, then she smiled slowly. "Oh, since that is the case, thank you, brother. Sister, you are willing to go back with me?" "Of course." Hushi raised her head and slowly drank the tea. Only then she smiled gently. "Since Brother Ziyun comes to pick me up, how can I not go back? After all, Nalan Mansion is also the place where I have to go back." Nalan Ziyun breathed a sigh of relief immediately, then his eyes looking at Hushi immediately filled with contempt. This woman really wants to return to Nalan Mansion, but she doesn't know what kind of life is waiting for her at Nalan Mansion. "Since my sister has agreed to go back with me, it is better to go back today. Sister can go pack your belongings now." As for the servants in this courtyard, Nalan Ziyun frowned. Then he said coldly, "I see that these maids don't really know how to behave themselves. It's better to sell them out. My sister is going to Nalan Mansion anyway. There are naturally clever and sensible maids to serve my sister." With that, his gaze also glanced at the cold girl next to Hushi. Hushi sneered when she heard the words. Her voice was a bit chilly. "Why? Brother hasn't seen me for decades, and you never care about your sister's life and death, but now you start to manage the maids around me? Since Nalan Mansion can't even keep my maids, then I think I don't go back anymore. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/ The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Nalan Ziyun's face was suddenly twisted. He forced a smile for a while. I'm just joking, sister. Sister, of course, can take charge of your own maids. Hushi smiled slightly, then she turned and walked into the hall. Nalan Ziyun stood in the courtyard, staring coldly at the direction which Nalan Hushi disappeared and gritting his teeth. Soon, Hushi came out. But unlike Nalan Ziyun's imagination, Hushi did not bring big and small luggage. She took out an ancestral tablet, one. Instead, Nalan Ziyun felt strange for her holding an ancestral tablet, but when he saw the name on it, his face changed immediately. Enlingua, my biological mother, but she was a cheap concubine who can make me feel ashamed whenever I think of it. Hushi placed the Enlingua's tablet on the table respectfully, then she smiled respectfully at Nalan Ziyun. Brother did not return to the Jinling Kingdom for many years, so you naturally can't pray to Mum. Since you are here today, you should lit incense to pray for Mum then. I am the only young master of Nalan Mansion. Why should I pray a cheap concubine? Nalan Ziyun's face was gloomy. He smiled with difficulty. Sister, we should wait until we go back to the Nalan Mansion for this matter. Hushi raised her eyebrows and said faintly, Brother, you refuse to pray your birth mother. Are you trying to not recognize your mother? Since you don't even recognize your mother, will your sister still put you in my eyes? Nalan Ziyun's facial features twisted for a while. He finally knelt slowly under Hushi's gaze. That expression was disgusting and embarrassing than swallowing a fly. After kneeling in a hurry and lighting the incense, Nalan Ziyun stood up quickly and said in a cold voice, Hurry and go. After that, without looking at the tablet, he quickly walked out of the courtyard and got into the carriage. Looking at his back, a cold smile appeared on Hushi's mouth. This was an elegant compartment. It was full of jewelry in front of the dresser. A bright color quilt was also prepared on the bed. Hushi sat on a cushioned wicker chair and looked at the furnishings in this room with a smile. The little girl who was preparing the bed in front couldn't help but complain. Miss, why do we want to live in such a place? There are so many rules. It's so annoying. It isn't as comfortable as living in our courtyard. Even if I want to cultivate, I can just go to the secret territory. Before Hushi spoke, another maid who was pouring tea for her whispered, My Xiang, be careful with your words. There might be someone eavesdropping on us. My Xiang immediately covered her mouth and made an ashamed expression. My Xiang, like Mu Dong, is one of the maids bought by Shi-san. She was very smart and liked to inquire about all kinds of news, so Hushi came to Nalan Mansion along with her this time. Hushi smiled. She said as she didn't mind, Relax, no one eavesdrops at this time. Because of the lotus-shaped jade flower given by Nan Gongyu, now her purple abyss vine has evolved. It could sneak into the ground to ambush and be alert. She could detect when someone was near, not to mention eavesdropping in the vicinity. My Xiang was relieved. She smiled at Hushi and the maid beside her. Miss and Sister Qing Luan are really amazing. If I can learn such great skill anytime, it would be great. The maid beside Hushi glanced at Hushi and slightly lowered his eyes, covering the surprise in her eyes. 1. https://en. Wikipedia. org/wiki/spirit ablet please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Suddenly, Hushi's awkward voice came into Qing Wan's ears. Qing Wan, your master. Do you have any news yet? Maid regained her thought, and she said quickly, Reply, miss. Master has sent a message to Wu Xing, saying that he will come to see Miss the latest by this month, and he is safe now. Please don't worry, Mississippi. I can see him this month? Hushi flattened her lips. She couldn't help but complain. Nangongyu, this bastard. We are clearly in love already, but I can't even see him for a few months. How can we build our relationship? As for the little maid with cold gaze by her side, she was also a gold core stage master. Her name was also Zhu K1. In other words, Her code name was Suzaku. At King of Hell Mansion, whether it is Qinglong, Baihu, Zhu Ke, Xianwu, or Wu Xing, Wu Yu, Wu Go, Wu Nian, they were just a code name. They were selected from countless martial artists of awe-inspiring innate talent. After strict promotion assessment, they finally signed a blood pact with Nangong Yu and became his confidant. After the original Zhu Ke was imprisoned in Spirit Sealing Prison, a new assessment would begin. Finally, someone would be titled with the codename Zhu Quebec. As soon as the new Zhu Ke passed the assessment, Qinglong immediately sent her to Hashi. The events of Sealed Dragon Domain and Breaking Spirit Mountain made Qinglong deeply aware of what the biggest weak spot of his master was now. The master's power was already too strong. So few people in Miluo continent could hurt the master. However, if someone hurts Miss Naren, he really does not know what would happen once his master gets mad. What's more, the latent cold syndrome of his master, except for Miss Nalen, no one could possibly cure it at all. So instead of protecting his master, it was better to make every effort to protect Miss Naren, so that his master no longer had weaknesses. Since Wu Xing was useless alone, then Zhu Ke would also protect her together. One in the dark, one beside her. This was just right. Hashi was now accustomed to Nangong Yu arranging someone to protect her. This guy was very strong in possessiveness. If she went against him, who knows what would he do? Because Zhu Ke's name was too conspicuous, Hashi called her Qingwan on weekdays. Qingwan grew up in the Death Warrior camp of King of Hell Mansion. She was not originally the most talented person. It was only through her persevering will and strong heart that she stayed to the end and passed the assessment. Qingwan was very cold-blooded by nature. In her eyes, there was only the command of the master. In her mind, there was only the word obedience. For her, Hashi was just her mission target. She didn't like or dislike her. Her usual expression was mostly cold. It was only when Hashi concealed her gold core stage's cultivation with medicine, she would show some awkward expression. Hashi liked Qingwan's character very much. She could separate herself from work, which was better than the previous Zhu Quebec. Suddenly, the door was pushed open by force. A maid with a beautiful face, makeup on her face, and spiced perfume came into the house and said softly, "Third Miss, the young master asked me to take you to meet Master and Madam." As soon as she entered the room, she saw Hashi sitting on a deck chair with a normal look, and she immediately revealed a look of contempt and pride. This third miss is really ugly. She doesn't have any cultivation. Even I as a maid can't compare with her. No wonder Master and Madam don't like her. Hashi raised her eyebrow. She said in a low tone, "Oh, why did I hear that Madam was sick in bed some time ago, but now she can come out and meet people now?" 1. https://en. Wikipedia. org/wiki/vermilion_bird. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. That news was long time ago. The maid immediately laughed. Madam was cured a month ago. Now she is waiting to see Third Mississippi. I suggest Third Miss to not drag the time and follow me. Hashi was a little interested in it. The mad-inducing medicine I gave to Mrs. Naren was not very expensive, but it was absolutely effective for martial artists below the foundation establishment stage. Based on the time, Mrs. Nalen should now be crazy now. But she can still see guests now? Really interesting. Thinking of this, Hashi no longer delayed and followed the maid out. The maid was called Xiang Lan. She was Nalen Ziyun's personal maid. Because of her beautiful appearance, she already considered herself as Nalen Ziyun's concubine. Because she knew Nalen Ziyun hated Hashi, his sister, she was also full of disgust toward Third Mississippi, seeing Hashi assessing the surrounding from time to time when she was walking in the courtyard. She thought Hashi was ignorant and couldn't help but feel more contempt. She smiled as if she was feeling pity for Hashi. "Third Miss, I heard that you are born without a spiritual root. This is really pitiful. It is no wonder that third miss was raised in the courtyard since you were a child. Even maids like us have the potential to cultivate, but you as the third miss are actually trash that can't cultivate. This is such a shame of our Nayland mansion. Look at my mouth, please don't be offended, third Mississippi. I'm not saying that you are a trash. My Xiang was so furious that she wanted to rush up and beat the woman's face badly, but she was pulled by Qing Luan lightly. She could see what Hushi wanted to investigate something in the Nayland mansion. It was not the time to inadvertently alert the enemy now. Xiang Lan couldn't help giggling. But third miss, you're having a good fortune now. You have such a good younger brother like our young master. Even if you're just a mortal, you'll have to flatter our young master in the future. I believe you don't have to be afraid of being bullied. By the time, you will find a chi refining stage or in a foundation establishment stage martial artist to marry. That's the blessing from your past life. My Xiang's body shivered. She actually curses my miss to marry a chi refining stage or foundation establishment stage martial artist. Just go to hell. Martial artists at the foundation establishment stage is not worthy of my Mississippi. Qing Luan's eyes also looked a bit cold. Although Hushi was only her mission goal, she was the sweetheart of her master, and she was more likely to be the future king of hell's wife. This girl actually asks our princess to marry the trash at the foundation establishment stage? She is simply digging her own grave. Only Hushi still had a faint look. No matter what the maid said, she didn't even have the interest to punish such a small character. At this moment, there was a group of people coming from the other end of the road. The leader was a young girl in beautiful clothes. She had beautiful facial features. She wore a gourd pendant that was rich in spiritual power on her head, and she wore a valuable storage bracelet on her hand. She exuded an arrogant momentum. Xiang Lan, who was still mocking at Hushi, immediately stepped forward and smiled flatteringly. Second miss, when did you come back? Why didn't you tell the maid to welcome you? The person was Naren Feishue, who whipped Nayland Hushi and sold her to Gluttonous House. Nayland Feishue replied with an indifferently. She glanced at the several maids behind her, and she said while looking up, I just came back yesterday, and it happens that some of the maids in my house are missing somehow. Are the maids behind you new to this mansion? Pick 2 smart ones and send them to my room. Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Xiang Lan's expression suddenly stiffened, and she stuttered in her speech. Second miss, they are not maids. If they are not a maid, who are they? Nayland Feishue was displeased as she was refuted by Xiang Lan. Could they be the people from the poor relatives who come to ask for money? I'm already respecting them for giving them a meal. Quickly send me the left one and middle two. As Nayland Feishue spoke halfway, her voice suddenly stopped. Her unbelievable gaze fell on Hushi. The original arrogant expression immediately turned into shock. She pointed at Hushi, then she exclaimed after a short while, why are you here? Shouldn't you already? Hushi walked forward slowly. The clear and slanted eyes looked icy on her yellowish face. Oh, it turned out to be the second sister. It's been a long time. But the second sister, is there anything wrong? You said I should have, what? Shouldn't I be dead? Or shouldn't I be sold to a dirty place? Nayland Feishue was speechless for a long time. In fact, she did not believe the facts before her eyes. Because after instructing Zhang Daizhong to handle the matters, she went out to cultivate. However, the news from her maid said that things were done. So she always thought that Nayland Hushi had already become a scarred corpse, or a slave to someone else who was ruined until her body deformed. But now, she actually saw Hushi in Nayland Mansion. Although it is still the ugly appearance of the yellowish face, she didn't look like she is tortured miserably. Aren't she still alive and kicking? Could it be that dog, Zhang Dazhong, cheated me? Then Nayland Feishue met Hushi's eyes again. Deep, clear, ice-cold, and high above. There was no longer the fear and trepidation and Hummel like previously. like she was just an ant in Hushy's eyes. Nalan Feishua suddenly became furious. You slut actually dare to talk to me like this? Who gave you the courage to dare to look at me like this? Did I beat you not enough that you feel itchy? Since you are so bitching, I will fulfill you. After that, she raised her hand and slapped at Hushy with a palm full of spiritual power. However, Qing Luan caught her hand in the air. Nalan Feishua swung several times, but she was unable to shake off Qing Luan's hand. She immediately screamed, "Are you all blind? Didn't you see this dog slaves offending their master? Quickly catch these 3 bitches and beat them hard." The servants behind Nalan Feishua heard the words and suddenly rushed toward Qing Luan aggressively. Qing Luan's eyes turned cold, flicking Nalan Feishua aside and jumping into the group of servants. Just listening to the beating sounds, the tall and muscular servants were thrown out, falling heavily on the ground and giving a painful moan. Nalan Feishua was thrown to the ground. She also felt pain in her buttock and back. Now that she looked up and saw her servants being beaten up by a maid, she burst into anger and shouted furiously, "Nalan Hushy, who gave you the dog's guts to let your maid attack my servants? You are just looking for death." After that, the spiritual power of her body increased. She pulled out a dark gold barbed whip and swung it toward Hushy's face. Qing Luan was shocked to see the whip swinging at Hushy. Nalan Feishua has an advanced level of Foundation Establishment Stage Strength. If she hurts Princess, please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. Qing Luan was about to rush over, but she suddenly stopped. A purple vine extended from Hushy's wrist like an arrow, entangling Nalan Feishua's whip. Then, with only a few metal cracking sounds, the 4th-grade dark gold whip was devoured completely under the eyes of everyone. After Purple Abyss Vine was upgraded, in addition to lurking underground, it also had one more skill. That was the vines that could only absorb liquids previously, now could directly devour various crystal stones, magic weapons, and bones. It was just that the process of creating this skill was really hard to describe easily. For the cultivation of the several brats, Hushy was not stingy. She even provided the 3rd-grade and 4th-grade crystal stones into the void like she didn't want money at all, letting them use the crystal stones at will. Little Egg, Little Golden Dragon, and Little Cow could all directly absorb the spiritual power in the spar. Then they would cultivate with the help of the 9th secluded spirit spring. But Purple Abyss Vine couldn't. It could only absorb spiritual power and flesh from living creatures, but it couldn't do anything to the inorganic matter like crystal stones. In a hurry, it came up with a way to turn the little holes on the vine, that was initially used for sucking blood, into sharp small mouths. Then it chunked and swallowed the crystal stones one by one. When Hushy saw the scene for the first time, listening to the crunching sound, she only felt her back teeth were aching. Nalan Feishua was stunned by the scene before her. Then she looked at Purple Abyss Vine's eyes full of heat and greed. "What magic weapons are you using? Such expensive magic weapon is really a waste for you who don't have any spiritual power. If you hand it over, I might let you go. Otherwise, I will let you suffer later on." When Hushy used Purple Abyss Vine, she didn't need spiritual power at all. So Nalan Feishua thought she was still a mortal who didn't have any cultivation and was just relying on magic weapon. Hushy sneered. "Really? How are you going to make me suffer?" With that said, the purple whip in her hand was raised high as if it had intelligent. Then it struck down heavily. With a snapping sound, Nalan Hushy uttered a sharp scream. She fell to the ground abruptly, rolling and crying in pain. Hushy chuckled. "Is this not suffering enough? Or is it?" The 2nd and 3rd struck hit heavily on Nalan Feishua. It made her rolling on the ground and making a pig-like howl. Her heart was full of disbelief. Is this the same cowardly and timid Nalan Hushy who only knew how to cry and beg me? She dares to beat me? Is she tired of living? Nalan Hushy, you dare to hit me. You actually dare to hit me. Bitch, I want you to die miserably. Anyone. Help. Hushy's hand didn't move. She was standing straight with a cold smile on her face. But the purple whip was whipping on Nailan Feishue. It was so painful, like she was going through hell. Hushy's eyes were dark, and she said coldly, Nailan Feishue, last time. Did you lash Nailan Hushy like this too? She begged you and cried for you to spare her. But you were getting happier as you whipped harder. Since you like whipping so much, I will let you taste this feeling now. Why shouldn't you thank me? As the purple whip whipped hard on Nailan Feishue, her aching body twitched. Finally, she didn't have the stamina to roll on the ground. Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. The original insult also turned into howling for mercy. The servants who were knocked down by Qing Luan wanted to rush over and help as they heard Nailan Feishue's cry for help. But when they saw dozens of purple vines extended from Hushy's wrist, they were shocked. Those purple vines wiggled in the air with mighty. Some occasionally fell down and hit the ground with a slapping sound. Even the bricks on the ground are cracked. Xiang Lan was shivering in fear. She remembered her arrogance toward Nailan Hushy, and she felt anxious at the moment. Seeing the purple vines waving in the air, they seemed to be hitting her at any time, giving her a heavy blow. At this moment, she suddenly saw a few figures not far away were rushing here as they heard the sound. It was Nailan Zhengze and Nailan Ziyun. Xiang Lan was overjoyed, and she almost rolled and crawled on the ground toward Nailan Ziyun, shouting loudly, Master, young master, help, help me. Second miss is almost beating by third miss to death. Help. After Nailan Ziyun settled Nailan Hushy, he went to report to Nailan Zhengze, and he thought that Nailan Zhengze didn't care about Hushy. But who knows? When Nailan Zhengze heard that Hushy had arrived, he immediately said that he wanted to see her now. Nailan Ziyun was a little displeased, but he still led Nailan Zhengze respectfully. Just entering the backyard, they heard a noise. It vaguely mixed with the familiar screaming and howling. Then he saw his maid. Xiang Lan came over and knelt in front of him. However, when Nailan Ziyun heard Xiang Lan's words, he was obviously startled. Who is beating who to death? That useless Nailan Hushy can beat Nailan Feishue to death? Would Xiang Lan make a mistake? Xiang Lan shuddered and said, Yes, it is third miss beating second Mississippi young master. Master, please hurry and save second miss. Xiang Lan's face was pale, and her head was drenched in sweats. Her eyes were full of terror. It didn't look like she was lying. Nailan Zhengze and Nailan Ziyun looked at each other, and they both saw the shock in each other's eyes. Nailan Zhengze walked forward quickly, and soon he saw Nailan Hushy standing on the side while looking down at Nailan Feishue, who was lying on the ground and kept screaming. He looked up and down on Hushy, and his eyes were full of with inquiry and deepness. It took a long time for him to scold loudly, What the hell is going on? Xiang Lan and Nailan Feishue's servants and maids saw Nailan Zhengze as if they saw a savior. They quickly knelt in front of him, keeping shouting, Master, please help us. Nailan Feishue looked weak. She crawled beside Nailan Zhengze's feet, grabbing her clothes. Her tears kept streaming down. Father, save me. Save me. That bitch wants to kill me. A useless person with no cultivation is going to kill Nailan Feishue at the foundation establishment stage? Moreover, Feishue is still even being beaten to the ground and crying? Nailan Zhengze's gaze became fierce as he looked at Hushy, then it was glittering again. What does this represent? Does it mean that Enlingüe really left a life-saving thing for Hushy? As long as we Nailan family can get this treasure. Nailan Ziyun also caught up at this time, scolding toward Xiang Lan. Don't just keep crying there. Quickly tell father what happened. Please go to https://www Novel updates. CC / The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. If you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel, we're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.